I did a past life regression. I have spoken about it, but I am happy to repeat. I did a past life regression where I saw 4 lives. One, I was an alien. I was. The other lifetime, I was a nun. I was a nun in a Catholic church. Yeah, I was. They in this lifetime, they are struggling with money, and they were told that in the past lifetime, they misused money. So now they're just paying back because life is fair like that. Yes. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, dear listeners and viewers. Welcome back to yet another episode of Beauty Lies Beyond podcast with me, Miriam Rose. Seeing as this is a spiritual podcast, one of the few in the continent, I thought today to speak about a bit more spiritual things, give my opinion about a few things, and also share the little I know about a few things. So I'm going to call this segment The Little I Know About. So the first thing is the little I know about angels. So I did a meditation this previous weekend where we did an angel meditation. And I mean, I've heard of angels, I've had angels and guides guide us. They are always around us. But when we did that angel meditation, it was so powerful and so intense, not in a negative way. It was just like so real. I could literally feel angels in my house, in the room I was doing the meditation in. So I just had to share. So I'm glad I get to share it today. So in that meditation, we invoked, and it's a guided meditation. So we invoked Angel Gabriel, Angel Michael for protection, Angel Gabriel, I think, was for love. I'll do it again, so I can always share. If anyone is interested, I'd be more than happy to share what each angel represents. I was so immersed, I didn't even actually understand, remember everything, but I remember there was Angel Michael, Angel Uriel, Angel Raphael, and Angel Gabriel. And each one has a role. Like Angel Michael, I remember very clearly, they were the angel for protection. There was the angel for good news, I remember, and the angel for love, and I forget the other one. And each angel has a color. So, and they stand on the 4 sides of the universe, the 4 compass areas, like north, east, west, and south. So each one, I remember Angel Gabriel was on this side, Angel Michael was on my right. I swear I could feel him on my, the part of my house that's on this side. Angel Raphael and Uriel. So they represent different points of the I think universe or earth. Yeah, earth, the corners of the earth. Yes, the corners of the earth. And they all have a color code. There was green. Distinctly, I remember feeling green. I remember green, but I remember the others, but now vaguely. The point is, angels exist and they protect us and they are always ready to help. I knew this even before, that if you want help, you just have to ask. Angels and guides cannot intervene or interfere with your choices. That's because we have free will. So unless you directly ask for assistance, then they can't interfere, but they'll always hang around you. So that was super, super cool. So that's the little I know about angels. So now the little I know about healing. Healing comes in different, in my life, it has come in different shapes and forms. I have done coaching. So that's a form of therapy. And then lately I've been introduced to different kinds of different healing modalities like Reiki. I have done a video on Reiki. It is on my socials. I went and before I bring anything to you guys, I always go and test it. I am not afraid. So I have learned more about chakras. I have had my chakras aligned. or healed. And I'll talk just a bit more about the chakras. I have also learned about pranic healing, which I have spoken about a lot also on this channel. So the funny part is that, is it funny or it's funny in a real way, is that these modalities actually work, but they're it's alternative healing because it is complementary to the healing modalities that we already have. But from my experience, they are, for me, this is my opinion about the little about I know about healing. They are, for me, they are superior. They are more superior because, like in pranic healing, which I have trained in now, I have been trained in, we use color, we use energy healing. So it is actually a form of energy healing. So we have different bodies. We have the physical body, the astral body, the emotional body, the astral body and emotional body and energy body. So let's just call it energy body. So for most of the healing modalities that we know, it just works on the physical body. But did you know, like I learned this also last week, that some things like addictions can have they can affect your, let's say, your energy body. I'll use the most simplest of terms so that you understand. So for example, if you have an addiction to sugar, so we were doing this practically in class. Someone with an addiction to sugar had their throat chakra, their throat is what was craving sugar, right? So we use energy and light. That's the other thing. We use energy and light, the different hues and the different spectrums of light, let's say in a rainbow. Like there's violet, there's red, there is, in fact, I'll talk a bit about that as well. So what was exciting for me was that I learned that behind the addiction, behind the want for sugar, there are certain psychic energies and elementals. And elementals are beings and entities that have their own kingdom. So what happens is that, I know I sound crazy, but it's fine. It's a thing. That is why I'm here sharing it. So an elemental can attach itself, let's say, to your throat chakra, and it can feed off that. It's like feeding vicariously through you. So for example, if it's an elemental that loves sugar, it will, let's say, lodge itself, let's say, on the throat chakra. This is an example. And you'll just keep feeling the craving for cola, the craving of sugar. You just keep taking sugar and you can't help yourself. So it stops being just a psychological problem and it goes deeper into psychotherapy. Cool. So now in psychotherapy, which is what I was trained on, you use energy and you use light. You use energy and you use light to remove that elemental. So it's like, it's not something that you can heal with medicine, because medicine is for the physical body. It is something that is energetic, so you can only heal it energetically. And it's good to be trained because you need to use the right color spectrum and you need to use the right hand gestures and hand movements. You need to use the right breathing exercises and all these things you're taught about. So in this case, we were working with addiction, sugar addiction. So you use like I said, a specific color spectrum, and you project that color spectrum into the elemental, and that elemental entity is frozen, and then you're able to remove it. So the little I know about alternative healing is that it's really powerful. You can work on your energy body, and you can use color. And this color comes from within us. So when we are told we have everything and we can heal our bodies, it's a fact. In fact, I have learned about self-healing, and I have been healing myself since I learned. The other day, I was telling someone that there's a time last week also, I had a terrible migraine. I get migraine sometimes. And I just thought, okay, sir, I've been taught about this healing, self-healing. Let me try it on myself. And I was doing it with skepticism, but I did it because I really had that bad headache and I needed to not have it. So I did the color, and I did the energy and the breathing exercises, all the things that we are taught, and the headache went away. And I remember later thinking, oh my God, my headache has disappeared. I don't have it anymore. In fact, I haven't had a headache since then. And I just keep thinking to myself, I wonder whether you mean that healing can like last this long. That's very interesting, because I have an eye problem. So that is what triggers it, but I haven't had a migraine since actually 2 weeks ago. That is so cool. So that's the little I know about alternative healing, that it's very powerful. It goes into it can go deeper than just the physical, which is what we are used to. But I explain, emphasize, I repeat, I reiterate, it is not a replacement for conventional medicine. That's why it's called alternative. So I want to say one thing. In alternative healing, I mentioned we use color, we use breathing exercises, and we use certain hand gestures. And you're trained to do this, at least in the pranic healing, Pranic East Africa. There's a pranic healing school that I attend. And you need to be trained to do this. Otherwise, you will just mess yourself up and you mess the person you're trying to heal, because there are so many other things. Energetically, there are cords that you form with people. So you need to learn how to remove the cords, like to detach. Story for another day. I just need you to remember that, like, don't do it on your own, because there are books that are available online. But I keep telling people there's no point of buying the book if you don't know how to use it, because it can be dangerous if you don't know how to use it. Cool. The little I know about chakras. I learned about chakras so long ago, but the more I live, the more I interact with this alternative healing that I spoke about, the more I know how little I know. So now I've learned about, I knew about 7 chakras. Now I know about 11 chakras. There are a few additional. I know that chakras are supposed to be rotating. Chakra is a wheel, like it rotates. And it's an energy, let's say an energy portal, where energy is supposed to go in and energy is supposed to go out. For people who understand energy, you don't even need to understand energy. Everything is energy. It just solidifies it, and then we think it's material. It's something that you can touch, but we are all energy. So chakras help our bodies to get in fresh prana, fresh energy, and remove toxins from our bodies. Therefore, if your chakra is malfunctioned, it's going to affect the area where the organs near that chakra. How, for example, the solar plexus chakra will service, let's say, the liver, it will service the stomach, it will service the things that are around that solar plexus. So the solar plexus is usually the center for, like, I used to know it's just the center for will, but I've also learned it also stores a lot of toxins. So the one thing I've learned is that cleaning your solar plexus, there's a front solar plexus and a back solar plexus. If you clean it, you're going to rid yourself of so much disease, so much stress, so much anxiety. It's the center for the emotional body. Remember, we talked about different types of bodies. So it's the center for emotional body. So if you clean it, which is what I have been trained to do, if you clean it every so often, every day, for example, if you can't do it every day, it takes like 2 minutes. If you clean it, you're going to be happy. You won't have stress. You won't have anxiety. You won't have negativity. The back solar plexus stores emotions and things that have happened in the past. So anything that happened in the past, if you meet something of a similar nature, you get triggered, it comes from the back solar plexus. So the more you clear that energy, the more you don't keep getting dragged back into the past. It's something that you can do for yourself and for your family. This excites me so much because I'm like, what? This works. This has been there. It's knowledge that's been there, but only few people know about it. And now it's just so freely out there. Very, very amazing. Yes, so that's the little I know about chakras. Another thing I know about chakras is the heart chakra and the crown chakra are very important to help us in our spiritual evolution. So people with closed heart chakras they're not open to, they're not friendly, they're not loving, they're not compassionate with others and themselves, and vice versa. And the crown chakra, if it opens, you have more interaction with, like, the angels we spoke about, or the spiritual world. And there are meditations that can be done to open and open the crown chakra and the heart chakra. It is advisable that you get guides. guided meditations, because doing things without guidance can be detrimental to your health. So please take caution. But it's just information that can really transform your lives. The little I know about disease, with all this healing that I'm learning about, from physical to psychological to emotional, I have learned that disease is just a manifestation of something that is underlying. It could be in your emotional body or your energy body, or even in your aura. I learned also that once there is something that is let's say in your energy body, and it stays there and it festers and it keeps being fed, it now starts manifesting as a physical ailment. So most of the physical ailments that we have they have a root cause in depth. They have an in-depth root cause. It just didn't come out. So this is why these alternative healing modalities I'm talking about are important, so that you can go to the root of the issue instead of just dealing with the symptoms. Because when it comes out, it's like a symptom of something that is more underlying. And by the way, I'm not a doctor. This is what I'm saying. It's the little I know about disease. But once you know, information is power. The little I know about past life regression. I'm not sure I've spoken about this, but if I have, it's fine. I can always repeat. This makes me smile because there are still people still debating about reincarnation and the cycle of birth and rebirth. And there is someone over the weekend I was speaking to, and he was like, no, if you finish this life, you just go into a different place. You don't come back. You just go somewhere else. Which is like, for me, the little I know about this is a half-truth, because it's true. You can go to other places. You don't have to come back to this planet or this dimension. You can go to there are so many universes. You can go there and evolve from there. But it's not limbo either. Yeah? Cool. So the little I know about past life regression, I did a past life regression. I have spoken about it, but I am happy to repeat. I did a past life regression where I saw 4 lives. One, I was an alien. I was an alien. Like, I looked like a reptile, and we were in a spaceship, and we were bombing people. We were bombing other planets, smaller planets. I remember it so distinctly because that ship felt very cold. It had very low cold vibration, just ruthlessness. Yeah. The other one, I was in the States in the 1800s, and I had a child then, a young girl who was biracial, and at that point, it wasn't encouraged to have biracial kids, so we faced a lot of bullying, a lot of discrimination. And then the other lifetime, I was a nun. I was a nun in a Catholic church. Yeah, I was. And then what's the other one? I even forgotten. There's another one. I forget now. I've done this. I did this like 3 years ago. But the point is, if you want to have a past life regression, there are past life regressionists out there. It's always important to do it if it's going to serve a purpose. If you want to learn, for me, it was a learning excursion. I wanted to really know what this past life is about, not because I didn't believe in reincarnation. I already did, but I wanted to see what have I done in my past. Yeah. The good thing is there is a higher soul. If you get a good regressionist, they will invoke your higher soul, who it's like the intelligent part of you that is going to just allow you to see what is helpful. However, you don't have to do it yourself. There are so many books that have been written of people who have gone through regressions and they've seen their past lives. So if anyone is still disputing reincarnation, please just read. If I am not, it's not enough for me to convince you that I have had past lives. Yes. So that's the little I know about past life regression. I'm not expert. I'm going to bring an expert eventually to Beauty Lies Beyond podcast, and they're going to tell us more about this. It's pretty exciting. And I've also met people who've done this as well. Friends that I can trust, who've had lives as well. As men, they are women in this lifetime. They were men in that other lifetime. They were kings. They were one was a Smith's person. They were dealing with in steel and metal. Yeah, so those things happen. The little I know about spiritual powers, I feel like spirituality is more is the is and I've discussed this again in the podcast, that the material world is dominated by the spiritual world. So, and I don't want to get philosophical. I just want to say there is no material without the spiritual, and the spiritual is more dominant. And we have certain abilities that are spiritual, each one of us. If I talked about the heart chakra, if your heart and your crown chakra are more open, you're going to have more access to your specific spiritual powers. The people we meet who have these spiritual powers of healing, of clairaudience hearing, seeing people who passed on, like mediums, name it, they have a specific power that they have unlocked, which is in every human. Every one of us carries these spiritual powers because we are the soul. So embedded in the soul, we are not the body. Embedded in the soul are all our potentialities. If we are the essence of God and God is all powerful, you also have the power. You just need to unlock it. One. And two, if you do unlock it, you need to use it for good, because why? Karma. If you do bad, you're going to receive bad. If you do good, you're going to receive good. That is the law. That is what balances everything out. Spiritual powers exist, and they're not a reserve of specific people. They are just some people who happen to have them more elaborate than others, but anybody can have them. They are called, in Sanskrit, they're called siddhis. So you can have them as well, or you can cultivate them. You can nurture them because they are inside you. Everything is inside us. The external is an illusion. Everything you ever need, your blueprint, your life, your choices, everything is inside you. You just have to ask. Cool. The little I know about soul contracts is that when we come to this planet or this third dimension, we agree with certain people that we are going to meet and we are going to help each other. To learn certain lessons, because we are here to evolve as a soul. So at one point we agree, maybe when I turn 33, I'm going to start this podcast and I'm going to meet all the people that I've met. And so many of them have, if not all of them, have impacted me so positively. That's how I've learned all these things that I'm sharing with you today. I've learned about numerology, about how numbers in both your name and in your birthday and in your time of birth can affect your whole life. Such things have helped me understand people. That's one of the things actually I used to really want, was to understand people. Why are people the way they are? Why do they behave the way they behave? That is why I'm also a life coach, because I needed to understand what are the motivations, what are the intentions people have. And certain things like spirituality, numerology, astrology, alternative healing modalities have taught me that life isn't black and white. It's not what we see with just our eyes. There is so much more. So, for example, like numerology, I learned, and astrology, I learned that the planets do affect us. Whether you believe it or not, unfortunately, you will be affected by planets, and not just you, even the world events. So if you listen and if you're keen, you'll realize during certain, when certain planets are aligned a certain way, some things will happen. Okay, so there is that. Then there is the, and I'm sure you've seen memes about it on social media, blaming the moon, full moon, new moon, all that. Those things are real. They are real. Like, I've experienced them. That is why I can say they are real. But it's the little I know about these things. They affect us whether we know it or not. One. Two, if you know, the more you know, the better you're able to handle yourselves. For example, there is something called Sadesati. I need to confirm if it's the same as Saturn return, but there is influence of Lord Saturn in one's life. And Lord Saturn affects everybody. Lord Shani. So it's like a 7.5 year period where the qualities of Saturn, which is justice, money, karma, discipline, all those things, you're tested, you're taken through. So I don't know whether you've ever met these people who there is a period of time things just don't work, regardless of how you're trying. No matter what you're doing, things are just not working. And you, for sure, 100% can tell it's not your fault. So you can now go back and check whether it was the period where in your life, that is when the Saturn influence was in your life. And then after 7.5 years, things ease off. Because especially if you've learned your lessons. If you haven't learned your lessons, then they will come back. So see, this is why knowledge is important, because if you know, I need to learn discipline. So whenever you're not being disciplined, you know, something is going to give soon. If you learn about money management, the people who misuse money, you know, if you misuse money, it's going to come back to you, whether in this life or the next life. And I'm smiling because I know of a person who did a regression. It wasn't a regression, it was a past life reading, where they in this lifetime they are struggling with money, and they were told that in the past lifetime they misused money. So now they're just paying back because life is fair like that. Yes. So if you don't learn that specific period of time, things are just chaotic. Life is not unfair. It's just happening because that's maybe where there is that influence in your life. Like I said, it's not because you believe it that it happens or it doesn't happen, unfortunately. The little I know about karma, I've spoken about karma enough, but there's something I learned the other day about kids and their parents. We've already seen that we choose our parents. The soul of the child and the soul of the parents agree that the child will come through them. And they come through these parents because the circumstances will be favorable for their soul evolution. So whether it's toxicity or whether it's a good life, it's a happy life, it's a caged life, it's a trust fund life, that is what that soul needs for that specific period of time for that soul's evolution. So we already know that. If we didn't know, now we know. So the other thing I learned was additionally that karma with an element of that dynamic is that a child can choose parents who owe debts to them, in the sense of, not even in a bad way, in the sense of maybe in a past life, they did something good to them. And in this lifetime, the parent pays back. I don't want to say pay back, but supports them in this lifetime as a payback to the good that was done in the previous lifetime. So you'll find that they are born together so that they can finish that karmic debt. Let's just say it's a karmic debt. So that's what happens over and over and over. Everyone you meet, you probably have a debt to, you have a debt with, and you need to finish it. And it's like a balancing scale. So it goes up and down, up and down. And it keeps repeating. So if I owe you right now, if we don't balance it out, we'll have to come back to balance it the next time. So I don't know how many of you have heard of energy exchange. Energy exchange in terms of, people call money energy exchange, but it doesn't have to be money. So energy exchange is so that we don't have debt. If I serve you, pay me back, or just give me something energetically to meet that saver, like that. So there is no debt remaining. So it's always, in fact, it's actually advised that if you learn something from someone, that person becomes your teacher, you need to give them something. I'm smiling because I'm not talking about myself, but I'm happy to receive. You give them something because they have given you something, then you're indebted to them. This is a culture that was always carried out. We owe our teachers, so we give them back and balance that energy. So that's energy exchange. And something about karma. So the best way to get yourself out of this imbalance, this is why it's not good to take people's money or to steal, because you're taking energy that doesn't belong to you and you're leaving a gap. So you'll find that in the next lifetime, you'll probably come back as that person's something, and then you can pay them back. See, everything always works out. Therefore, that being said, some parents I learned are paying back a debt that they may have owed, whether or not they were parent-child or maybe they were maid servants, both, it doesn't matter. There is a balance, karmic balance that's supposed to be paid. So this is why it's good to be grateful, it's good to be kind, it's good to be compassionate. It's just always good to have that openness when receiving. That's why it's good to receive. To those people who say they cannot receive, start opening yourself up to receiving, because that other person might be owing you. So they should be giving it to you. So you should be open to receive, because if you close yourself off, that debt is not being paid off. So that is the little I know about segments. If you'd like to learn or exchange information and knowledge, please feel free to write in the comment section. Feel free to write to me. We'd love to be a guest. Until next time, thank you for tuning in to Beauty Lies Beyond podcast with me, Miriam Rose, and goodbye.